This is Michael Popok with a Legal AF hot take. Judge Chutkan has spoken. The judge presiding over Donald Trump's criminal trial that's scheduled to start sometime in the summer, but not in the Trump trial, in a Jan 6 defendant sentencing proceeding, but it looks bad for Donald Trump based on the comments that she made. Not comments that can be used to try to disqualify her. It just shows you, after almost 2 years of trials and sentencing of Jan 6 defendants that were following their fearless leader, Donald Trump, Judge Chutkan is not to be messed with or trifled with. Donald Trump has taken the position on the campaign trail, for instance, that the Jan 6 defendants, including the 12 that are still in jail in pretrial detention because they're the most violent of defendants, that they are somehow patriots, that they are political prisoners, that they need to be released. They need to be given some sort of absolution or pardon. Not according to Tanya Chutkan in her sentencing of Antony Vo. Antony Vo, a little known person, except for the fact that he took his mother to an insurrection. You heard me right. Antony Vo bragged about taking his mother because Donald Trump told him to do it, and then went to Jan 6th, stormed the Capitol, refused to leave, which led to a diversion of scarce resources to get him and his mother out of the Capitol, while the rest of the Capitol Police and Metro Police were doing battle, hand-to-hand combat, medieval style, in the West Portico. Antony Vo contributed to the chaos that day because he refused to leave, and that's why he was convicted ultimately of disorderly conduct. Now, even during, and a few other charges, even during his trial, he showed no remorse. He showed no contrition. During the trial, while he was out on probation, and in violation of his probation terms, as Judge Chutkan reminded him during sentencing, Antony Vo went to a vigil for the Jan 6 defendants that were inside the Capitol jail, the most violent of criminals. They're not there because they couldn't make bond. They couldn't make bail. They were there because they were a threat to society, even as alleged. And therefore, under the various federal rules, they deserved to be held pretrial detention and not have freedom until they are tried. But not to Antony Vo. They were heroes, just like Donald Trump told them. Now, we'll put up some photos so you know what I'm talking about. Of course, just like the rest of them, Antony Vo talked tough during the trial and went to the vigils. But then when it came time for sentencing, oh, boo-hoo, he started to cry. Okay, not working. Not working, Mr. Vo. Particularly, Judge Chutkan said to him, and those people that you admire, the Jan 6th insurrectionists, they're in jail because they're the most dangerous people. They're not to be celebrated in violation of your probation. They are to be, there's a reason that they're there. Particularly, let me just read to you from what she said. She told Mr. Vo during sentencing that their Jan 6 defendants that he worships, effectively, were being kept in jail because they're dangerous people, right? And this is in line with what Trump has done, where he's called them hostages. He said they must be released, that Joe Biden should release the hostages, political prisoners, and the like. Vo himself, as the judge noted, went to a Freedom Corner, a nightly vigil for defendants held outside their prison or their jail in Washington, D.C., which of course violated things. Vo on social media, before he went to trial and during trial, referred to himself as Jan 6 wrongful convict. This is after he was convicted on social media. But right before sentencing, here we go. He said he was sorry for everything. He wasn't there to overthrow the democratic process or anything. But he was openly hostile in the wake of his conviction last year on 4 misdemeanors related to unlawfully entering, where he posted on Twitter, on X, he said there was a 0 jury of peers, 100% a kangaroo court. I mean, you don't do this kind of stuff before you're sentencing, because then the probation department or U.S. Sentencing Department is going to bring that to the attention of the judge. She's going to have it in front of her, and she's going to point it out in imposing sentence. Sure, there's a U.S. federal sentencing guidelines that'll kind of give the range of sentencing. And the judge gave him 9 months, if you were wondering. Sort of on the lower end of the scale, but 9 months in jail for taking his mom to an insurrection. It's like an insurrection party that he took his mother on. He's sort of a insurrectionist tourism, if you will, posting all along the way. And the judge commented that she was unswayed by Vo's apparent change of heart while he was facing facing sentencing. Right, when you're about to meet your maker, and the maker is wearing a black robe, but a federal judge who has your liberty in her hand, you start saying some things out loud. In fact, the judge has been responsible, as most of the judges there handling Jan 6 cases. She's put a number of them away, both in bench trials where she presided over, in plea deals, in convictions by juries, and sentencing. I mean, some of the sentencing, she made some comments about Jan 6 defendants like this one. The last time she did it, Donald Trump said, aha, she's biased against me. She's already formed opinions. And the D.C. Court of Appeal, neither the D.C. Court of Appeals nor Judge Chutkan thought that she should be removed from the case because she expressed some opinions related to case-specific people in front of her inside the courtroom during sentencing. She's allowed to have a brain, a mind, eyes, and ears. She's not lobotomized when she takes the federal bench, and she can express her opinion, and the proper place to do that is in sentencing memos, in sentencing hearings, and the like. And now Mr. Vo has been sentenced. Another one bites the dust. But more importantly, and the purpose of this hot take is to focus on Judge Chutkan. You know, she's twiddling her thumbs here. I mean, she's got a lot of work to do as a federal judge, but she's biding her time, I guess is a better way to put it, until the Supreme Court returns the case to her on a mandate. The holdup right now, as everybody knows, I'll just wrap up the hot take this way, is that Donald Trump filed a motion claiming that he had absolute immunity from suit for all of the things that are alleged in the indictment against him by Jack Smith's special counsel. Because of the nature of that appeal, everything had to stop in her courtroom, right? She put a pin in it. She said, look, there's some things that I'll still enforce, like the gag order against you and some other things, but the rest of the case is stopped. And she also calculated that at the time she stopped the case, that Donald Trump had about 89 days left on the clock to prepare for trial. And if and when she gets the case back, she's going to add 89 days and tell him we're going to have a trial at the end of the 89 days. There's going to be an oral argument. We'll be able to hear it on the MeidasTouch network at the United States Supreme Court level. We're waiting for the final brief of Donald Trump. 2 briefs are in. Trump's original brief, the Supreme Court brief submitted by the special counsel Jack Smith. And there's one more brief for Donald Trump that's allowed. There's some amicus briefs, friends of the court briefs that have been filed as the judges get ready for oral argument. We'll see what happens. We'll know with this group, as I've said in prior hot takes. And with this group, it's completely transparent. It used to be you can't read tea leaves. Sometimes it's a hot bench, but then the ruling is different. With this panel, what you see is what you get. When these 9 are up there in oral argument, you're going to know exactly how they're arrayed for or against Donald Trump and who's going to write the majority decision just based on oral argument. So that we'll get a lot of detail from that. If we're right, we usually are, we regularly are on Legal AF, then they will ultimately find that as their question was posed for appeal, that a former president does not enjoy presidential immunity for official acts. And even if he did, the things that have been alleged in the indictment are not official acts. They're personal and private to Donald Trump in his attempt to his quest to cling to power. That's personal in nature, not an Article 2 constitutional analysis. And they'll sometime in May or June, before they go on holiday, they will release their decision. If they release their decision, let's say in June, it will return to Judge Chutkan. She'll call an immediate conference with the lawyers. She'll look them in the eye. They'll say, we're on trial right now, Judge, up in New York. We're not done until, let's say, 6 or 8 weeks from the Stormy Daniels case. So we figure that's going to be sometime around, middle of June. And the judge will say, fine, we'll have our hearing July 1. July 1, she brings him in. She says, are you done? Did he get convicted? Update me. And they'll update her about whether he was convicted in New York, Trump. Just to say, all right, we're ready for trial number 2. It's now July 1. How ironic. We're on 4th of July weekend. You have 89 days from July 1. I'm going to set this trial July, August, September, October for October, right before the election. Could happen. Of course, if the Supreme Court rules faster, we roll everything back the weeks or months that's required. We'll follow all of it right here at the intersection of law and politics on the MeidasTouch network. That's what we do. Join us on Legal AF. You want to know what it means? Come on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel, and you'll find out. And then on audio, podcast platforms of your choice, wherever you get your audio podcast from. And then we do hot takes. Like I do hot takes like this about every hour, it seems, on the MeidasTouch Network at the intersection of law and politics as a practicing trial lawyer, national trial lawyer, in courtrooms just like the ones that I talk about. Lawyers talking about things that they know what they're talking about at the intersection of law and politics. That's refreshing. That's a breath of fresh air. And if you like these kind of hot takes, then you can follow me. Go over to YouTube, go to MeidasTouch, free subscribe, find me under contributors, and go look for everything under Michael Popok. You'll find 1,200 or so of my hot takes. And if you like this one, give me a thumbs up. You don't have to do the wink. Thumbs up is fine. And comments, it helps signal to the algorithmic gods that you like this particular type of content. So until my next hot take, till my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.